Hello, I'm Robin and this is my 2026 Super Cub. It's done about 450 miles and I've had it for 2-3 months. And for me, I think the braking oil has done its job now and I'd like it to change it. And I'd like a new filter as well, and to look at the old filter and see if there's anything we can find in there. I'm going to do this myself and never take it to a dealer again unless I have to. Now there's a few reasons for that. One is because I'm a lifelong engineer and I've always done all of my own maintenance and repairs on every vehicle I've owned and restored quite a few cars now. So why would you take it to a dealer if you've got a full workshop and you know that you can do it? So that's one reason. And the other reason is just the extreme cost of these things. I mean, I've not even asked how much it is, but it'll be, I don't know, 150 quid, I'd guess, something like that. Which, for what a first service is on one of these bikes, is ridiculous. And the other thing is my PDI was just, they didn't really do anything. They bolted the mirrors on and the number plates. I think that's it. I think that's what they did. It had 0 miles on. The chain was bone dry. They had hardly any oil in it. And both tyres were 3 psi down on what they should have been. So I'm convinced they didn't even look at it at all. So I'm not confident about going back there again, and I'm not going to unless I have to. Now these bikes have got a really good reputation for reliability, especially when they're looked after, and I'm going to look after this bike like no other. So come along on the journey with me and I'll show you what's involved. Okay, trip round the workshop first perhaps. Now I built this workshop about 10 years ago and it's been an absolute godsend, to be honest with you. It's my happy place and I love being in here and working on vehicles, restoring cars and just being in here in general. So we'll have a really quick tour round of the facilities and then we'll get on with the service. Very useful to have a wood burner in here. It's nice to sit in front of there sometimes, especially in the winter. Makes the garage a year-round proposition. We'll go through some more detail about the parts there in a second. That's what I need for the service. And here's my lotions and potions section. I've got pretty much everything you could need here to service vehicles and restore. And I've done a lot of that in the past and enjoyed it a great deal. So organised chaos, as most garages are. I do know where everything is, honestly. And we've got a MIG welder and a decent blasting cabinet, and over here a great big compressor, super duper. Oh, ETZ251. If you know, you know. Okay, so on to the bit that you really want to get on with, and that is servicing the bike. So moving on to the parts needed and the tools. There's the part number for the filter there, and there's the part number for the little O-ring that fits on the filter housing, and there is the part number for the little washer that goes underneath the sump plug. Okay, so that's the parts. I would always recommend buying genuine Honda parts. I bought these from Fowler's in Bristol, so they're a genuine Honda dealer, so you know you're going to get the right parts. Onto the tools. I would always recommend that you buy a torque wrench if you've not got one. Most people have got socket set perhaps and some spanners, but a torque wrench is a rather vital piece of equipment for working on bikes these days, because the torque specs and how tight the bolts are is important. Not only to not break things by over tightening, but also having things come loose. I'm going to put a link up in a second to one that you can buy quite reasonably. It's important how low they go in torque and also how high they go. So this one goes down to 10 and up to 100, I think. But on the bike, all you're going to really need is, say, 7 to 10 to about 70 or 80. Now on to the most important thing we're going to do today, and that is the oil itself. This is Castrol Power 1. It's really good oil. Stick with major brands always. 10W30 is the weight of the oil, the viscosity, how thick it is. And 4T obviously means for a 4-stroke engine. And the standards here are the important bit: APISL, JASO or JSAO, MA2. So the benefit of the record and the service history, the bike has done 478 miles. Sounds absolutely lovely. Okay, on with the job. Okay, the bike's thoroughly warmed up now and we're ready to change the oil. First things first, undo the filler cap and just leave it resting in place. Okay, this is the drain bolt, this one here, and it's 12mm, so we'll undo that and drain all the oil out. Careful of the exhaust, the cap's really hot. Oh yeah, there you go. It's pretty golden, it's not too bad. No debris seen so far, that's good. Onto the filter itself, 8mm. This has actually got a little spring behind it, so just wants to automatically pop the lid off as soon as you undo it. There's the little spring. There's the filter itself. Maybe use a little pick tool or something to try and get that out of there. There she goes. There's the filter. We can have a really good look at that in a minute. I'm going to take it to bits on the bench, I think. Looking at this seal here, I think this is probably why they suggest that you should replace it every time you take this off, because if you can see, there's actually a tiny bit of that rubber has actually come away there from just being popped out. I don't know, there's another little bit there, look. So I'm going to replace this seal for sure. Let's do that. So let's replace that seal for the filter cover. I've got a rather useful little tool here. It's called a pick tool. It's used for getting O-rings off, such as this, or for on your brakes. You have these O-ring seals on your brakes as well, on cylinders on bikes and cars. So pick tool, very useful little thing. That one's in the bin. I'll fit a nice new one. Let's make sure that's nice and clean first. Yeah, as you might expect, it's in perfect condition. Let's pop the new seal on. There we are, new seal fitted. We'll give that a little bit of oil lube and pop that back on when the time comes, not forgetting the all-important spring. Now, looking at the filter, I've noticed it's actually marked. It says which side goes towards the engine. That says this goes towards the engine, and this says this side towards the cover. So you can't really get it wrong. You don't want to fit it the wrong way, so it's actually blocked off inside there. So that's where the oil goes in and comes out through the filter. We can have this to bits now. We can have a look. So I've cut round with a blade and I've pulled out the central metal spar part because I want to have a very good look inside here. Okay, that's the central part with the... Now let's have a really good look here. Absolutely nothing I can see, which is good news. What we're looking for is anything that's metallic, tiny pieces of silver or maybe a bronzy colour, and also microscopic pieces of plastic, because there is plastic inside engines, often around the around the ball races on some bearings, they're plastic now, and of course the cam chain tensioner is plastic. But I'm really pleased that there's a bit of fluff. This looks really good. What's that there? Is that one tiny little piece of silver there? Or two? I wonder if this can actually focus on these pieces. So I'm pleased with that. That's what I really wanted to see. That's what you don't get at your dealer, is that sort of level of inspection, to really check that there really is no horror stories of bits of debris going around inside your engine for the first 400-500 miles. Okay, so we'll carry on. Just thought I'd pop the plug out and have a quick look at that as well. See how she looks. Let's have a look. Yeah, looks good. It's clean burning. Okay. If my little endoscope camera goes and fits in there, I'm going to have a look in there as well, I think. Have a look at the ball. Yeah, ball looks really good. Happy with that. Oh, put the spark plug back in. Top tip here is always start spark plugs off. Anything with fine threads, just start it off by hand, because there's no way you've cross-threaded that, because you could screw it in easily with just light fingers, so you know it's not cross-threaded. Surprisingly long thread on these spark plugs as well. That's it. She's back on. Okay, on to the next job. Change the crush washer. You can see by the shape of this here that it really has been crushed. Oh. One time use only. So, nice new one's going on. Give it all a wipe and then we'll refit the plug. Okay, time to refit the sump plug. Yeah, let's give it a nice wipe down there. Make sure that's really clean on the mating surface. It's a joy to work on a bike when it's nice and new. No rust, nothing stuck. Everything works how it's supposed to. Screw that back in. Okay, that is torqued to 24 newton meters. That's it, 24 newton meters. Job done. Okay, we're ready to put the filter back in. So let's give that a really good clean in there first of all. Just oil coming out, absolutely no sign of anything else, which is good. Brand new filter going in. I think it just pops on that little cone thing on the end, the little peg thing it sits on with a little rubber seal. There we are, so that's in. Don't forget the spring, all important spring. Then just smear a tiny bit of oil around the O-ring, and then it will sit back in place. That's it, beautifully engineered. Goes together really, really easily. It's slightly awkward trying to film and do everything at the same time. So, not normally filmed myself before, but there we are. So that's all back on. So these are just tiny little bolts here, so they really don't have very much torque on them at all. It's actually 10 newton meters these are. So we'll just nip them up evenly until they seat down. That's seated now. Now 10 newton meters is not much. Be very easy to strip out a bolt of this size if you're not careful. Real delicate with those. Just need to nip them up really. There we are. I'm happy with that. She's torqued to spec. Okay, that's the filter back in with the spring. Right, so drain plug's back in, filter's back on, and we're going to fill up with 800ml of the good stuff. Always amazes me just how little there is in the way of oil in these bikes. 800ml really doesn't seem very much, does it? So let's just try that level from the outset. The level changes according to being spread around the engine and also filling up the filter. So 800ml in, it's about in the middle of the crosshatch zone. So we'll start the bike up like that. We'll let the oil circle around for a bit, filling up the filter. Unfortunately there's no oil light, so you can't see if there's oil pressure or not. And we'll let it run for a minute or two, and then we'll check the level again. While the bike's running, it's a good opportunity to check around for any leaks that you might find. Make sure nothing's leaking at all. Looks good, everything's fine. Sounds sweet. Right, let's try that again. Dipstick all the way out. Give it a good wipe off. And then just rest it in the top. And that's right down the bottom of the crosshatch zone. That's where it was when I first got the bike. Unbelievable. There we are. It's going to need a little tiny bit more, so we'll just give it a 50ml or so. Just going to have to judge it. Obviously you don't want to overfill the bike, but we'll just give it another 50ml or so. That's more like it. It's just underneath the crosshatch on the top there. Let's double check, and I'm calling it a day. Yeah, perfect. Okay, that's done then. Screw it back in, and we're done. So it's more like 900ml with a filter as well, I would say. So I'd like to do a thorough check of all the bolts on the bike just to be absolutely sure. These are 29 Nm, so we shall just double check these first. Not quite 29, I don't think. Around the other side. That's 29. 29. Axle bolt, this one's 59. That's good. This one's 54. That's good. Axle bolt. That's good. Caliper bolts are 30. That's good. Yep. Caliper oil bolt 34. Yep. Now, using a little block of wood there and very gentle jacking, it's possible to just tip the bike back on its pivot just enough to get the front wheel off the ground. So you can check everything carefully. Right, let's do that. So there's a few things to check if you've got your front wheel off the ground. And that's the movement of the forks. Everything seems really good there. Don't want any notches. Check the rotation of the wheel. See how true she is. What you're looking for is what they call run out, which is the wheel wobbling in and out. Also the disc. This looks absolutely fine. Looks really good. Okay. No leaks, there's no damage to anything. And while we're at it, we could have a really good look at the tyre. And what we're looking for is anything stuck in it at all, cuts, uneven wear, anything out of the ordinary. Obviously this is a very new bike, but it's just good practice to be observant and see exactly what the condition your bike is in. Critical systems save your life. Okay, looks good. Same goes for the back wheel. Looking for binding, run out, bearings, any play at all, and of course the tyre itself. Looking for anything stuck in it, uneven wear, cuts, bulges, all that sort of thing. Looks really good. I don't know how long these are going to last, but they'll be alright for now. That's absolutely fine. Check the operation of the back brake. Now I've obviously been riding this bike, so I know it's really good. So how much free play there is there, should be more than about 30 mil or so. And Honda, in their infinite wisdom, have always fitted this little marker here, which is very useful. So this is a brake wear indicator, so you know how worn the drums are by how close that little needle gets to that point. If it gets to that point, then the drums have got absolutely, the shoes have got absolutely nothing left on them. As you might imagine, they're absolutely fine. Difficult to see, but if you can see the pad down the bottom there, there's two little wear indicators on the pads as well. So you know when they get to the end of that line, that's the end of the pad. But pretty tricky to get the camera in there. Easy to see though with your eye. Obviously 485 miles, I mean the pads are barely worn at all. Thickness of the disc is also marked on the disc itself, minimum thickness 3 millimeters. So we'll have a look at that. That's more like 5. So got a while to go with those yet. They'll be fine for a while longer. 29 in the front, 33 in the rear, no passengers. And finally onto the chain tension. Now the diameter of this hole is 30 millimeters exactly, because I've measured it, and 30 millimeters is the amount of travel slack that the chain should have. So that is set to 30 millimeters. Now this chain is not stretched at all in the time that I've been riding the bike in the last 480 miles, even though some people have had issues. I think it must be down to lubrication. So I'll show you what I'll do. I use gear oil, meant for gearboxes, EP, extreme pressure rated gear oil. This is Hypo 90, the 80-90 thick weight oil. Anything like that is fine. And I also use this little squeezy bottle with a little to just do a few drips exactly where you need it to be. You don't have to go too mental, but the chain guard does stop any oil flying off, so it does drip out the bottom of the chain guard sometimes. That's all you need. That's running lovely. Finally, a big thanks to Fraser Hine, another cub owner, who very kindly sent me these little bungs, which go into the swing arm. Now, on my bike, I've taken off the pillion foot pegs, and it's because I never have a pillion passenger. I'm not even insured to have one. So these bungs actually fit perfectly into the holes which were left, which is a really good idea. Otherwise, you're going to get water in there and rust it from the inside out. Many thanks, Fraser, for sending me these. They take a bit of pushing in. I think the best thing to do is just to sit them in place and then give them a really good little tap in with a hammer or something, because they take a bit of getting in, but they won't come back out again. I managed to get them in the end. They do take some fitting. I put a cloth over them and tapped them in with a little hammer, and they're in now. That's really good. Thank you ever so much for that, Fraser. That's much appreciated. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. That concludes my first service of my cub. I think you might agree with me that I've liked to do a thorough job, and I'm confident now that this bike has been properly serviced, using the correct parts and being done properly. So it just gives me confidence in riding it in that way. Many thanks to Fraser for sending me those little parts I need for the swing arm. And if there's anything else you'd like to see, please feel free to send some suggestions, and I'll just disregard them completely. Okay, and no, seriously, it's been good fun making this video. I've never done anything like this before very much, so it's been quite an experience actually. So more to follow, and as I go through with my journey of this bike, there'll be more to see. I'm going to do 1,000-mile service intervals on this bike every year, or 1,000 miles, and I suggest you do the same. That oil has to work hard. Okay, thanks. Bye for now.